Welcome, everyone, to a special Sunday afternoon episode of the EmpowerMAN podcast. We are dropping this episode live for everyone in about 3.5 hours, 4 hours.
Yep.
Thank you for letting me know there, Greg. Back from excursion in our nation's capital, Washington, D.C. It was a late night, early flight. But I'm here. I'm back in America. I'm back in Florida, the land of the free and home of the common sense. And this afternoon, I am joined by the man who defines common sense. He was Mr. Fix-It before Mr. Fix-It was a thing. The guy could put together anything, as we discussed before we came on the air, as Greg is the engineer to the engineers. He is the champion of the Second Amendment. He is the parent, the patron, the friend. He is the man who is all for tea. He is the peptide explorer. We're going to look into that, right? Peptides?
No comment.
Peptides. He is the king of pre-workouts. He's our boy. He's your boy. He's my boy. He is America's favorite son. Greg A., not to be mistaken by Hunter Todoro.
No, definitely not.
Greg, that white powder sure as heck isn't cocaine, my friend.
No, it's just a little talcum powder. It's just a little pre-workout. That's it. That's all it is. A little bit of creatine.
Pre-workout and peptides, sir. How we doing this Sunday?
We are good. Welcome back. I know you've had an extremely busy week, and it was an interesting phone call from you and Ford. Shout out to Ford. It was fun. Made me laugh. You guys sounded like you had an awesome time in D.C.
Well, I mean, we needed something to numb ourselves after that State of the Union address. So Woodford was the medicine of choice. And, I mean, there's nothing I can really comment on, Greg.
Yeah, whatever. It was a waste of time.
You know, we're talking about the state of manhood on the EmpowerMAN podcast.
Yes.
It's just the state of people.
People.
I think not just manhood, just people.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
It's pretty sad, though, that you can't call things are what they are anymore without offending people. I remember when I would do something wrong or I needed to be corrected, I wasn't coddled. It was like, look, this is what this is. It's like if you're telling me the sky is blue, but you're like, well, it's kind of like a turquoise, then,
yeah,
you know.
Different world, my friend. Different world.
It really is. It really is. And before we get into this episode, I want to give a shout out to our men and women in blue, our firemen and women, our EMTs, our first responders. Thank you always. Love you always. Thank you for keeping our local municipalities, our cities, and our states safe and sound.
Absolutely. And shout out to all the military personnel here and overseas, and as well as their families. Stay safe. Thank you. And watch your backs. This
pen says I voted, and I got this when I voted in our gubernatorial election. I believe it was a couple years ago. I can't remember. And we're getting closer to the election. I know it's like, it's only like 8 months away, but you know what? This year is going to go by super quick because we're going to be by next Sunday. We'll be halfway through March. Think about that.
Yeah, we will.
Let that
get your taxes done.
I file extension.
I mean, pay your taxes.
What I do was I just automatically Zelensky.
Yes.
I just sent it to him like, hey, there you go, guy. Hopefully this will contribute to your arsenal of weapons.
Yeah.
But that's neither here nor there.
Nope.
Greg T, one thing that's really special to us and affects us both professionally and personally are words. And we're going to talk about that today in today's episode, right? We're going to talk about actions versus words, words versus actions. Say what you mean what you say, but the stuff that comes out of our mouth, once it's out in the universe, it has meaning. It has life.
Yeah.
It brings to the forefront what we're feeling, both good, bad, indifferent. So I think we need to break this down and be cognizant of what comes out of our mouth. Greg, when we talk about words and this and giving words meaning, how do you interpret that?
Well, whether you're in business, sales, relationships, friendships, whatever, I agree with you. Your words carry weight once they come out of your mouth. They're in the universe. You put it out there. So they have meaning behind them. And I think I'm guilty of this all the time. You know that. Sometimes I don't think before things come out of my mouth. and that could be a problem. So one of the things I'm working on is thinking and taking time a little bit and letting things digest, and then still spewing venom. Just kidding. Then still putting the words out there. But when we're specifically talking about business and you're in sales, sometimes you don't get that opportunity to reel it back because it's already out there.
Mhm.
And you can miss that potential sale or a potential client because you chose different words. And one word in a sentence can change the entire way of how it lands with somebody. And it can either make or break you.
So talking about sales and the
Mhm.
words that come out of our mouth, do you think when it comes to sales that people are using words to kind of hook you, or do you think most people will speak from the heart? Because I believe there's a difference between selling
Mm.
someone and
Mhm.
speaking from the heart. So, we were learned and we were taught, when you're working for companies, certain like catchphrases
Yep.
or certain psychological techniques, and
Mhm.
there's been books written on it. I
Yep.
don't like selling people. I'm like, this is what this is.
Mhm.
It's either I'm for you or I'm not for you,
Yeah.
But then again, just using that type of verbiage, not for you, that's almost like kind of a negative,
Yeah.
right? So how do we kind of break away from that complacency in our words where it's like, oh, well, you can take it or leave it, or I'm either for you or not for you.
Mhm.
How do we take those situations and use them to our advantage?
I just think, first of all, practice more and more will help you in scenarios. I agree with you. I'm not a hard sales guy. I never was. Everyone knows I was in real estate. I'm all for asking for the business, but there's a way to ask, and I never hard sell, but there is a time during a conversation or whatever that now it's time to ask for the business. And I always took the softer approach where, listen, I I want your business, but I don't need your business. And I don't mean that cocky or anything, but trust is a two-way street. And in my industry, it means a lot.
Mm,
And everyone's like, oh, I don't trust real estate agents. Well, you know what? A lot of real estate agents don't trust you either
right.
because you, the consumer, go behind our backs, try to use multiple brokers because you think you're going to get a better deal when that's not the case. But it's a two-way street. So I think when you're educating people and showing them your value, the words you choose, you're actually selling them on just being cool and being who you are. People will gravitate towards that. Like with you, you don't hard sell anybody. Listen, I would love to help you out. I'm here if you need anything.
Yeah.
That's it. And I would leave it alone. But sometimes there are certain people out there that need that direct, listen, let's work together. All right, try me out. Like sometimes you need that. To me, that's still not hard. It's not a hard sell. But sometimes people need to be led and then literally have their head shoved in the bucket to drink. You know what I'm saying?
Sure.
So there's still a soft way to do that. And then you have the other people that just hard press all the time. And sometimes they get business and sometimes they don't. And a lot of the times they get that reputation. They're just like a used car salesman, very like scummy or shady. And that's the last thing I want because in our businesses, referrals mean everything.
Yeah.
Eventually, you don't have to spend any money on marketing because there's the referral network just coming in constantly. That's where you want to get to.
Yeah, and when it comes to words too, it's the meaning behind those words, but it's also like an emotion. A lot of words can be empty.
Yep.
Like, you find that like in relationships where,
Huh.
one other party be like, I love you, but it's just like there's
It's
no
a
meaning
filler.
behind
It's
it.
a lot of
It's a
filler.
it's a filler. And you also made a good point earlier on, a few minutes ago about thinking before we speak. I am probably worse than you because I
No,
I
you're not.
things come out real quick. Things come
Nah.
out real quick,
Mhm.
like quick. And you have to be cognizant of that because the
Mhm.
book of Proverbs talks about, you know, uh, thinking before you speak or too much talk can lead to,
Mhm.
it talks about like keeping your mouth quiet, right? And Teddy Roosevelt said, walk softly and carry a big stick.
Mhm.
I can't do that because A, I don't have a big stick, and B, I have a big mouth. So I have to really be careful to curtail a lot of things. What's one thing, Greg, that you've been able to use to your advantage in your practices when it comes to speaking before you think? Is there any techniques that you use, or is there something that you'll reference when you feel yourself in a situation where don't speak, listen, or don't speak, let it marinate, and then respond?
Yeah, I'll practice patience. So instead of not cutting somebody off, but as soon as they finish a sentence, like going right off the bat, I practice patience now and I wait a little bit. And a lot of the times when I was selling and I was in front of potential clients that want to sell their homes, I would take notes. And I would ask them, "Do you mind if I take some notes?" Because I'm going to ask them, "Listen, what are you looking for in selling your home?" Because there's a lot of everyone's answer is different. I'm moving, I'm relocating, I'm downsizing, I'm upsizing, financial problems, or I just got more money, so I need to. There's a lot of different answers, and it's not just a one size fits all listing.
Right.
People have different motivating factors. There's a death in the family, or there's a birth in the family. Family's growing, so those different needs correlate to different time constraints and factors in selling the property. So I'd be like, "Hey, listen, if you don't mind, I'm going to take some notes." And I would listen to certain things that they're saying, write it down, and then go back through it with them. And I would make sure to touch every point because, in a way, that's soft selling them because you're answering all their needs and questions. So it's just being aware. Plus, it also helps because I'll forget in 5 minutes what they said, and it's written down now. So we covered all the bases, and then it's a great follow up. Listen, have I covered everything you wanted me to cover here? Is there anything else? And it's always been successful in doing that. People like that approach.
Well, staying in the business mindset, when we
Hmm.
talk to our colleagues, when we talk to our bosses, I don't know how it is nowadays. I know when I was working, there was um, my words had respect behind it because they were my
Hmm.
superiors,
Yeah.
and there was a way of phrasing things properly.
Yep.
What advice would you give a guy or a girl who's at the workforce that
Yep.
are trying to articulate something that could
Hmm.
be good or bad to
Yeah.
their boss, superiors, even just talking to your colleagues?
Great question. In real estate, what I used to do when I managed a large office. Now, there's a lot of egos in all businesses and industries, but there's a lot of egos with real estate agents. There's a lot of entitlement. A lot of agents make a lot of money and they equate that to I'm smart when they're not, or I'm really good at what I do. You're not. You just happen to make a lot of money. And a lot of the agents knew I'm a very active manager and I'm pro agent, meaning I'm here to help you and I want you to make as much money as possible. And I will do everything in my power to help you do that. There's also agents that look at a manager as corporate or against them, stifling their growth when there's no reason for that. They just never got the chance to know you. And to answer your question, there's a way to come at your manager if you need something. Now, I had a lot of agents that were successful that would approach it correctly. "Hey, Greg, listen, I have an issue," or "Listen, I'm going to need something. What do you think the best way to go about this is? Let's put our heads together." And it's like a nice collaborative meeting, which is great. And then you have the others that would come in hot, angry for absolutely no reason, angry with me. Meanwhile, I don't even know what you came to my office for. So how could you be mad at me? And I deserve this and I want this and you need to do this. It's like, all right, and I would literally say, "Hold on, get out." And they would stop dead in their tracks, like, "What? Get out, count to 10, come back in, start over."
Like that.
And it's funny, I'd be like, "Are you serious?" I'm like, "I'm dead serious, get out and try again." And some of them would do it and they would come back even hotter, be like, "Get out." And it would take a couple times. And then they finally understood. I'm like, Is that all out of your system now?" And they're like, "Yeah." I'm like, "Relax. I'm here to help. What do you want to put our heads together? What do you want to discuss?" And
Mm.
then once they were off of their own stuff and they realized I'm just there to help and here to listen, let's figure out a solution. And here are your options. And they're like, "Oh, wow, this is easier than I thought." I'm like, "Yeah, and a lot of them did change eventually their approach. Some always stayed that way and they were just like always negative and toxic or whatever. There's always going to be people like that. But I'm also not a doormat and I'm not going to be spoken to a certain way. And you wouldn't want me speaking to you a certain way.
No.
Respect is earned and it's a two-way street. So you want my respect. That is definitely not the way to get it. And I will treat you the way you treat me. And there, a lot of people weren't used to that. Oh, I'm a big producer. You should bow down to me. I could give two shits about that. I don't care. We're on equal playing field. We're on equal terms right here. Let's talk about it. All I can do is help you. That's it.
Well, I think you can call it the 10 count the door rule. I like that.
Yeah.
I like that because again, I think it's applicable to relationships, friendships,
Yeah.
business, sports.
Mm-hmm.
Just counting to 10. Something simple and it costs you
Mhm.
nothing. You don't need to go on anti-anger pills or anti-anxiety
No.
pills.
Nope.
Count to 10.
Yeah.
Then
And
revisit
if
the
10 doesn't
situation.
work, do it again or figure out something that does work to de-escalate your own mind. It's road rage, same thing. Somebody cuts you off, like, okay, what are my options here? And what's it worth?
Mm,
What's it worth? We've all been there.
mm.
hmm So it's a great way to approach something. If you need something from somebody or you need help, there is definitely a certain way to go about it, and there's definitely a way to not go about it. And I don't
Right.
think going in hot in any situation is going to help, especially if you're with your boss or a colleague. It's not going to go well, and you're going to get labeled a certain way. And now once you have that label, it's going to be hard to get rid of that label. No one's going to want to deal with you. Now I'm going to put you on the bottom of the list, and I'm not going to take your calls all the time now. And that all could be changed with how you say things and your words that you choose.
Yeah, that's a great point you made because you can get labeled by the words that you use. Because
Absolutely.
I've pigeonholed myself because of the language I used
Me too.
and the mindset of where I was coming from, and that what came out of my mouth breathed life. If I said that
Mhm.
I was angry or I was looking for a fight, or I was looking for
Yep.
this or that, once it's out there, I mean, it's kind
Mhm.
of hard to take it back. I mean, a lot of things I've said, unfortunately, I wasn't
Mhm.
always the best son. Said a lot of things that I wish I could take back,
Me too.
but I can't, and you can sit there and just say, "Oh, well, I was this, I was that, I was in this mindset. God
Yep.
knows my heart. God knows this, there's
Yeah.
that." Even to this day, as I'm learning, I'm trying to have more patience with my parents, my mom especially, but I
Mhm.
fall short every single day. I try, but I fail. And the thing is, you got to get back up and you got to just keep doing it because,
But at least you're trying, because back in the day you didn't.
at least I'm trying,
Yep.
but I still fail because I think with words also connotate expectations
Yeah.
in regards to if I
And
tell a girl,
rightfully so. Rightfully so.
yeah, if you tell a girl you love her or you tell a girl she's beautiful, the expectation is, oh, she's going to think I'm great or she's going to think that, I'm, it's a way for me to like, wow, she'll really like me. So the words that I'm espousing are hopefully going to gain acceptance and
Mhm.
validation that, okay, bang, I'm stamped. This girl likes me. And the same type of mindset can be said at work. Oh, man, Greg, this is a great idea. Or you helped me so much. Thank you so much for your guidance.
Mhm.
So there's an expectation if I say these things to Greg, Greg's going to validate me and my performance.
Mhm.
So another thing I want to ask you is how can we use our words appropriately without having the expectation behind it?
By doing just that, don't expect anything. It's hard to do that, but it's you're not that you're setting yourself up for disappointment, but the potential for that is greater if you're expecting something. Don't expect anything. A great example is this happened like 2 weeks ago. One of my former agents called me and said, "Hey, will you meet me? I have some business questions for you." Yeah, sure, no problem. And I meet with her, and her contract is up, and she wanted to know how to renegotiate. And no problem, I'm good at that. That's what I did. And she was like, my production's down a little. And so I don't think they're going to give me the same as what they gave me 2 years ago, blah, blah, blah. My numbers were here. I said, okay, well, give me all your numbers and then give me the office's numbers. She was like, why do you want that? I'm like, trust me. Can you get me them? And she's like, yeah. And she got me them. Well, her production, let's just say, was down 30%. It's a lot. It's also the market and stuff like that. It happens. However, the office was down like 22%. So she's like, Greg, she wasn't following. She goes, so what? I'm like, leverage that. Listen, now you're really only down 8%. Spin it like that. Like, listen, I'm down because they're going to come at you like, yo, you're down X. And be
Right.
like, and you can't deny that. It's a number. It is what it is. It's a fact. Okay, yeah, I am down X. However, the office is down Y.
Right.
So let's meet in the middle, or maybe, listen, I'm willing to give up just a little bit of this, but give me that. Now you're negotiating and you're using leverage that you didn't even know about against I don't say against the office, but they're using numbers against you in the negotiations. Well, use their numbers against them to counter. Lo and behold, she got a great deal. But my point is, so we met twice about this. Let me know how it goes. Well, yeah, I will, Greg. Thank you so much. I didn't hear from her for like a couple, like literally 2 weeks now. I texted her. I'm like, hey, how's it going? She goes, oh, I got what I wanted. Like, thank you so much. Like, I would have thought you would have let me know that because I took time and whatever to help you. But my point is I didn't expect it, because if I was expecting that, I would have been like, what the fuck? Or I'm a little disappointed. You didn't even, you wanted all my help and then you got the result and you just leave me out to dry without any info, without like, hey, by the way, thank you so much. It worked. I didn't have that expectation because I knew better at that point in my life. Like, I don't expect anything anymore. If it happens, it's just gravy. So when she told me she got what she wanted, I was very happy for her. And I wasn't like upset that she didn't text me or anything. It is what it is. It's fine. It's okay. So I didn't have that expectation. Back in the day, I probably would have had that expectation and I would have been a little bit angry or disappointed. And there's just no point to that.
Well, let's carry that over into society. We talked about
Mhm.
before. I was in DC for the State of the Union address.
Mhm.
Our
Lucky you.
politicians. I was pretty lucky. Yeah. You watch people that we have an election coming up, arguably the biggest election of our lifetime. I feel it's going to really determine the trajectory of where we're going to go as a society, as people. And I think we're more divided now than ever before
Agreed.
in our life. Words that you used to be able to say, obviously you can't say anymore, which there's some good and there's some bad behind it. But if somebody comes into this country illegally, that term is now forbidden or it's looked upon as cancelable. But also, like when you look at prisoners or pedophiles or rapists or murderers, that's what they are. And you can't,
Mhm.
I don't know if you can say that anymore because, again, we've gone from, being able to express yourself freely, which is the First Amendment, to now being there's a correctness, and which, there's good and bad with everything.
Yeah.
But how do we, Greg, as men and women, as people voting in the election, how do we sift through all the crap and all the words that are being espoused by people that are trying to get power so that we can make the best decisions possible to vote for the candidate that we feel, right? Whether you vote red or blue or independent, doesn't make a difference as long as you're voting, because that is
Yeah.
a privilege that people in other countries do not have and they would die
Mhm.
for. How are you
Yeah.
able to kind of sift through all the words to decipher what kind of aligns with your values? Because a lot of people in politics, they talk a lot of doo doo, lot of doo doo.
Listen, I just had this discussion with a friend of mine last night. And we think differently on a lot of things, which is cool. And we're still cool. It doesn't matter. It doesn't change my thoughts about them or them about me. And it shouldn't either. That's what made this country. And that's another thing I don't understand. People want if nowadays it seems like if family or friends disagree on something like politics or something, it's like they don't talk to that person, they disown them. It shouldn't get that far, but that's my opinion. Anyway, I think all politicians suck. I think they're all bought and paid for. I said it a million times. I don't think one person is the end all be all answer. Republican, Democrat, I don't give a shit. I don't care. I care about the
Right,
person.
right,
And not everybody is going to please everybody, and because you can't. And even though I like one person more than another, doesn't mean I like that person as a person. It doesn't matter. I was always taught this. If you don't know who to vote for, because some people don't pay attention, some people, which is fine. That's their prerogative. It's their right. But like you said, vote because people, died for that. Right. Some people don't follow. Some people don't know who to vote for. Some people are confused. Totally okay. Pick a topic or a situation that really means something to you. And it could be anything. It could be the border. It could be abortion. It could be whatever. I don't care what it is. Pick something that means something to you and then align yourself with the person that agrees with your values on that topic at a bare minimum. And that's a way to vote, in my opinion. Don't vote because they have a better suit, they have gray hair, they have dark hair, it's a woman. I don't care about that. I care about like I have what means the most to me. I have my list, and whoever fills that list will get my vote. I don't care who it is. I could care less what party they're in. I don't care. What means the most to me is what I'm looking for in a person at the time. Do I trust them? No. Do I believe they'll do everything? No. But I also believe in the lesser of two evils. And my totem pole of priorities, that's what I'm looking for. And whoever fits that bill will get my vote. I don't care.
And you said this earlier in the podcast about actions and words, and I see people come on television, and we talked about common sense earlier as a topic for a possible show down the road, and you see people that blatantly lie, like will
Right to your
straight
face.
up right to your face, and these words breed life, and that's
happened
the
all
biggest
night.
thing.
It happened all night that
all
night. All night.
And whether doesn't matter what side of the aisle you're on. I just want someone to explain to me how we are better off now than we were 4 years ago. Because I don't see it. Maybe, again, too many blows to the head, but the lies that come out of the politicians and, with those words, blame this one, blame that one. It's this one's fault. It's that one's fault. And it's just you passing the buck. And then
it's always like that.
If our higher ups do it, well, guess what? That's going to trickle down.
Mm-hmm.
And then, on a level like that we're on, oh, it's Greg's fault. Oh, it's Mike's fault. Mike did this. Mike did that.
It's always Greg's fault, Mike.
Of course.
It's always my fault.
Fungus. I have fungus on my big toe. It's your fault.
My fault. My fault.
But I mean, the words that we espouse have meaning. Yeah. Politicians, athletes, about role models. And we used to look up to role models. We had our role models, and the words that came out of their mouth influenced us in a certain way. So when we do speak, you're right. We need to think before we speak. We have to have intentionality with what comes out of our mouth, because someone can take our words and use that for inspiration. They can use that as a negative connotation about themselves.
Yep.
So I think, when we speak, even just by yourself, I'm never going to find anybody. I'm not good enough for this girl. I'm not good enough for this guy. How am I going to afford this? This is BS. I'm this, I'm that. That's where the 10 count the door rule would come into play, or just take the situation, step out, count to 10, get yourself together, and realize, okay, this is the situation. This is what it is. This is what I'm going to do. We always talk about, like, oh man, if I ever got this. It's not if I ever. It's when.
You correct me almost daily with that.
Correct. Correction.
It should change. Like I said, change one word in that sentence. It changes the whole meaning. And you do this to me literally almost every day. I hope I get this. And you always say, instead of hope, when I get this. Same sentence, one word difference. And it just, look at the difference. I hope I get this. When I get this. It's powerful. And you say that enough, you're going to start believing it. Your energy changes. Your focus changes. How people view you changes in a good way. And it can trickle into all the other areas in your life. And you literally do that to me all the time, which is awesome.
Patrick taught me this little thing too about, like, paying bills, which I can't stand paying. Like, we owe this, right? And we all talk about our checking accounts, how, some days they're up and some days they're like, really like negative. Right?
That swing.
Really, it's a real, yeah, and it's not even like subtle. It's like ding, you know. So Patrick taught me this about paying bills, right? Like, oh shoot, I got to pay my mortgage. Well, another way of looking at it is I get to pay my mortgage.
Yeah.
And even with my bills, like I get to pay my car because I can afford that. And it
Yeah.
gives you a whole, again, changing the words and having
Yep.
that cognitive, like,
Hmm.
dissonant, that cognitive approach can really affect, the way we look at things. And you great book, Louise Hay has a great book, the late Louise Hay. She lived to 90. I know a lot of girls that are listening to this show probably have heard her. She was all about affirmations and thoughts, and she cured herself for cancer like years and years ago. She lived to be like 90.
It's
And I
awesome.
think I think she still I think whoever's running her stuff now still does Louise Hay affirmations, but she wrote a book called You Can Heal Your Life. And it's a great book. I read it back in the day. I bought it for a few friends of mine that that were girls that were going through things. So some things resonates with men more than
Hmm.
women, and vice
Yeah.
versa. But really, Louise Hay really gave a great. She has a great approach, or has still her
Hmm.
legacy about positive affirmations, and we have to be mindful of that. Whether you're a guy or a girl, things are tough, but they will get better. This isn't a permanent situation unless you allow it to be.
Yep.
I will get this by doing this.
Yep.
Creating an action plan. Greggy T, expound upon that. How can we take the words that come out of our mouth negatively and transform them into a positive space to where we can not only achieve our goals, but also create that good stress in our body?
I mean, you just mapped out the plan. You said goals. First things first, you got to set goals. But you can't set goals unless you have the right mindset. So you have to get your head right. Set some goals, like Mike said. I don't care what it is. I could care. I'm going to shower 5 times this week. That's a great goal. It's good. Set a goal and then work backwards from that. We do this in real estate a lot because real estate is all about touches to people. You have to get in front of X amount of people to get X amount of meetings to close X amount of clients. And like you always say, you got to be in the batter's box. So how do you get to the batter's box? So you have to get in front of people. And it's very important to have your mind right. So work backwards. All right, I want to close one deal a month. That's 12 deals for the year. Okay. And depending on what price point you're at, that could be a great year. If you're in a market where there's like $2 million is the average price for a house, you're going to make some good money that year. But that's closed one a month. How many people do I have to get in front of to sign with me? You have to at least sign like 3 people a month. Then it'll trickle into one close. But how do I get those 3 people? I got to meet with 20 people. How do I get to the 20 people? So you got to work backwards from your goal. It's totally doable. And once you do it once or twice, it's great. You're good at this with budgeting. A lot of people, my dad was like this. You know, I make $100 an hour. Okay. And everyone's like, okay, I make X in a paycheck. A paycheck's every 2 weeks, right? Normally. And there's 26 pay cycles in a year. Okay, what's your hourly rate then? And when people hear when you break it down like that, like it's great when some people raise their prices, which you understand, and you're like, oh, I'm raising it, $15. Everyone's like, some people are like, yeah, no problem. I don't care because they understand the value. They're not going to question it. They don't care. Then you always have the other people where they just nickel and dime you to death, which to be honest, I don't want to work with people like that. And I'm at the point where I don't have to, but that's fine. I still don't want to lose that client, but I would be like, okay, what do you think is fair? And then, they'll give some bullshit answer, but it's like, well, when you break it down, I'm only asking for like $3 more a day. How do you argue that? When you break it down to a certain way, it's the same thing with, like you said, the words and your affirmations. One word can change the whole entire outcome and sentence, the vibe, your energy, your outlook. and it'll attract that in return, which is what you want. We're always saying cut the negative people out of your life. We always have those people, you call them and it's always negative. It's still a great funny conversation, but it's always negative. I don't really have time for that.
No.
And I don't want to be around people like that, and I don't want to listen to them.
No, and that's like you said, if you hear the right voices, you make the right choices.
Yeah.
Getting rid of those people and eliminating them. I think one thing too that I think men and women can relate to is when you're dealing with the opposite sex or same sex, if that's your preference. And
Yeah,
especially if you
Mike,
like
come on.
someone.
Come on, Mike.
Right. So we
Yeah.
say we can judge a girl based upon her appearance. Oh,
Mhm.
I can't afford her. I mean, oh, she's only into rich guys, or you must have to have like 7 zeros after your last name, or meanwhile, I don't even know her name. I don't even know if she's like, you have known nothing about it. Same way with guys. Oh,
Yeah.
he's just out for one thing, or he's out for this. So we already tell ourselves through the words that we use
Mhm.
what these people are before we even know what they are.
Yeah.
So what's one way we can kind of like, as a guy or a girl out there that does this? 'Cause I'm guilty of this still, and and I admit
Yeah.
that. How do we kind of let that wall down and change the outlook or choose different verbiage when approaching someone or seeing someone at a bar or a restaurant or seeing someone on the street? How do we change that mindset of, let me just let the guard down, let me let the walls down, let me not judge, and let me just be open to meeting new people?
It's hard to do. And I think I'm guilty of it just like you still. I'm way better at it, but it's an active practice. You have to actively practice because you and I walk down Atlantic Avenue, I'm fucking judging. Every 3 seconds, you and I are laughing and making jokes. However, it's a two-way street. They could be doing that too. And they can look at me like, oh, he's just some big ogre or some big guy, like whatever, like big dummy or whatever the case may be, tough guy, and it's not the case. So you got to remind yourself it's a two-way street. All right, they can definitely be doing the same to you, and do you want that done to you? Probably not. So, like you said, give them the benefit of the doubt and like check yourself and be like, all right, I'm not going to do that. I'm a lot older now, and things definitely slide off my back a lot easier than they did when I was younger. And I used to heavily judge, heavily, until I don't judge that much anymore. I might like surface judge real fast, like I just said,
Sure.
but if I'm talking to somebody, if I'm getting to know somebody, I'm not judging them. We all have a past, right, wrong, up, down, good, bad. I don't care. And I don't judge somebody because when you go on dates with girls, right? I don't know if it comes up, but if they're attractive, you can assume they've been with a lot of guys, whatever. I don't care. That shit doesn't mean anything to me anymore. I care about a connection with the person. I don't know about you, but back in the day, I know we used to judge, and living in Manhattan didn't help with the whole financial judgment and all that shit. But I don't care about certain things anymore.
Yeah.
And it's a good thing because that's just added weight you don't need. You got to shed all that and just get to what means more to you. And everyone's different. Maybe that does mean more to you, that you want somebody that doesn't have like a big past or a track record. Okay, that's fine. But then go for it. I'm just saying what certain things don't mean what they used to me. Their job used to mean a lot to me. How much money they made used to mean a lot to me. None of that stuff matters anymore. I care about the person, like the true person, and being honest with that person, and them being honest with you. Everyone wants to say, "Oh yeah, I'm honest with my man. I'm honest with my girl." Are you? Like truly? And it always goes back to what I say, like that vulnerability. Are you okay being vulnerable? Are you okay with literally telling them anything and everything? Meaning even the bad shit that you probably shouldn't tell them, but you're cool enough to tell them, and vice versa. And you'll know real quick if somebody's cool with you or they're judging you. You'll know.
No, I agree. And I've evolved in that mindset because the words that came out of my mouth were, it was a game. It was fun. I mean, especially in Manhattan, it was just like,
Yeah.
quantity over quality. And I'm guilty of that, as probably most guys are. Maybe they're not, and that's on them. That's just how I
I hear you.
was from a very young age. So, it's especially it's very important. I think again, to sidetrack as a parent, giving your child that environment where they can understand the words that come out of your mouth, especially when you're
Hmm.
talking to them
Yeah.
or to
Yeah.
their, to your partner, and seeing that so that they can take that as they apply it as they get older. So
Hmm.
words really mean, I mean,
They
you can
do.
relate with young children. We have a lot of parents that
Yeah.
watch this show.
Yeah.
Like, we have to be careful of the words that we use. I mean, when back when we were growing up, you know, there was probably some colorful language along the lines, because you see certain behaviors as you get
Hmm.
older that, like, oh my god, that reminds me of my parents or someone that I knew, or
Hmm.
regardless of it might be, and then you have to go and correct that behavior. So I think, as a parent, watching your words, watching what come out of your mouth, being
Yeah.
mindful of your environment so that the kids can have an idea. Now, is that real world? Probably not. But if you can be cognizant, majority of the time, obviously things are going to slip through the cracks, but just have the awareness and the mindset saying, you know what, my kids are around. I need to set the example.
Yeah.
Is
And
that
I'm
fair to say?
100%. And I'm constantly aware of, if my daughter, I'm like, wow, you're really good at drawing, whatever. No, I'm not. Like, that's that. See, in my mind, I don't make it a big deal, but I want her to know, because that's slowly teaching confidence. And
Hmm.
I don't want her to keep saying that all the time. Like, no, I'm not. Or, oh, I'm so proud of you. Did great. Like, no, I'm not. You're so smart. Like, I'm not smart. Like, no, 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 no. That language, like you just said, matters huge. Yes, you are smart. Yes, you are good at this. Now, I don't drill it down their throat because they're so young, but I'll correct them every single time they say, like, no, yes, you are very smart. And then I'll leave it alone, because they're so young. You can't just have that. They're not cognizant of that level of conversation that needs to be had, like you and I can have.
Right.
But when they get older, hopefully I won't have to do that, because I'm chiseling away at that self-doubt. Like, oh no, I'm not. Like, yes, you are. And then leave it alone. And then, you're so good at this. No, I'm not. And then I've noticed it's less and less now. Like, wow, that's so good. You're so good at drawing. And then it'll be quiet. So I like that, instead of, no, I'm not. Like, that little, and they're so young when they say it. It's almost like a natural thing. Like, no, you're excellent at this. You're
Right.
amazing at this, and just let it be. And it's teaching. I think it's that subconscious. Yes, I am. I'm really good at this. I'm smart. Or if I say I'm not, I'm corrected immediately. Yes, I am. I think that'll start working in their brain.
Yeah. And again, the words that come out of our mouth
Yeah.
really
I don't want
bring life.
them hearing me saying anything like that, because that's just going to validate, and they're going to copy everything that you do or say. Like, oh, I'm daddy's not good at this. Like, they don't hear that out of my mouth. I might suck at this, but you know what? I'm pretty good at this. Whatever, fake it till you make it, almost, with them, because I want them to see confidence. And even if I don't do something right, it's not the end of the world. Let me redo it. Let me try it again. Like, a big thing, Farrah loves to draw, and Ruby sometimes will grab a crayon and just whoosh, like, in the middle of her picture, and it's just like chaos. And I'm like, hold on. I'm like, Ruby, don't do that again. And then I'm like, Farrah, come here. And then, before she gets to, like, a category 5 hurricane, crying, upset that she ruined her picture, I'm like, what's the matter? She's like, she drew this line. I go, well, the good thing about drawing is, guess what? Let's turn that line into something. What do you want to draw? She's like, I'll draw a house or a rainbow. I'm like, okay, we're starting the rainbow from that line. And now that line turned into something cool on the paper. So now it's not the end of the world. It used to be bad, because Ruby would do it all the time. And I'm trying not to laugh, because it's messed up to do that. But now I've noticed she doesn't react as quickly and category 5 as she used to. Now she knows, okay, it's a little blemish, let's turn it into something. Those little things, in my opinion,
Oh, yeah.
will really grow with her going as she gets older, in other areas of her life too. Like, not the end of the world, we'll fix it.
I
Don't
agree.
worry.
I agree. And you're starting them now at a young age, and
Yeah.
down the road, that's going to really help shape which direction they go in life. And I
Yeah.
think one thing that we need to look for, I think, in people is that words we need to have choose words that have common ground. And that's what we're
Mhm.
missing these days. A lot of the verbiage that comes out of people's mouths, especially from the top down, there's nothing that brings people together. Words can either tear us apart or they can bring us together. And those are choices that we make as people when we speak, especially when it comes to like, when you're talking to a girl, right? It's very easy to get into a fight with somebody and in the heat of the moment say things that are really bad. Right. Now,
Mhm.
I guilty.
Guilty.
100%
You've seen it.
guilty. Guilty.
You've seen it. Yep, guilty.
As
100%
charged.
guilty. Yep.
Because you're in the heat of the moment, and
Yeah.
then whatever that kind of elicits a domino response in your
Mhm.
body that allows that type of stuff to come out, even just putting together something.
Yeah.
Like I was telling you earlier, I F bombs and this and that, and then it's like, wow, that's not
Yeah.
who I am. That's not what I want. I'm aware,
Mhm.
but again, it's practice and
Mhm.
understanding like words can unite us, especially if you're a guy trying to talk to a girl. Most people are going to think that there is a different intention. That could be, it could not be, depending
Yeah.
on where you are in life.
Mhm.
More than likely, it's going to probably, want to lead to something physical. But again, if you're trying to meet someone and create a genuine connection, just
Mhm.
talking to people on the airplane last night, I talked to everybody, talked to the flight attendant. Awesome, a great conversation with the flight attendant. I gave the JetBlue, shout out to JetBlue, who gave me the best customer service of my life at Ronald Reagan Airport last
It's a
night.
big statement coming from you.
The best customer service I ever had. I gave her the biggest hug. I thought I broke her shoulder because I was so happy. And I hugged her. And I'm like, wow, like if more people could be like Blythe, Blythe, Blythe was her name. If you ever
Interesting
get a
name.
hold of this, she's the only person in JetBlue named Blythe. She's based out of DCA. This girl works 2 jobs. She's effing amazing. And if more people were like her, then I think in the whole airline industry at JetBlue, there'd be a lot more happy travelers. Now, I'm going to admit, I am a Mosaic member. I have a little bit of status. But regardless of that, I mean, but my point is that there were words that she chose that gave us common ground, which was like, listen, I can't do this, but I can do this. So it's that verbiage that comes out instead of just saying like no. There's a book I read called The Power of a Positive No. I don't know where, I don't know who wrote it. I have it somewhere in my storage locker. It's a great book because I read it years ago. But it's like I can't do this, but I can do that. So you're not shutting the door completely. You're just
Mhm.
saying, hey, this is what I can do. And I had the best customer service of my life. And especially in business, thinking before we speak, having the intentionality of I want to help this person instead of saying I punch out in 10 minutes makes a huge difference.
I was on the phone for that one too, sir.
You
Mhm.
know what I mean?
But look at the difference experience in the same night.
Yeah.
Polar opposite, right?
Yep.
And it's you made a great point, and I'm gonna take this to the left. I don't care what AI, how good it is, the future of it. You'll never get what you just experienced with AI. There's no
Nope.
way. No way. And that's why I think we'll still need people for this level of customer service. I don't
Have
care.
to.
I don't care. It's impossible to have it with it.
You have to. I think a lot of people do when it comes to customer service, they read from a script. I don't want someone to apologize for the inconvenience I'm going through. I want someone to
Yeah.
solve the problem.
Yep.
My clients in my business that I work with, like I acknowledge the problem and I look for plausible solutions. I don't apologize. I take responsibility for my
Yep.
part that I could have played in it, or I'll take accountability for something if I need
Mhm.
to. But I don't apologize because things happen. It's okay. This is the problem. Let's work together. Let's think of plausible solutions. I'm going to do this on my end. And then if, the one party doesn't hold up their end of the agreement, then you say, well, I did give you stuff to do. You may want to just pick up on that. I'm not saying, no, Greg, I gave you like effing homework assignments. Like, what the F? Like, get on
Yep.
that. No,
Yep.
it's like, okay, well, you know what? Just you have it when you're ready, because a lot of people aren't ready to change. A lot of people aren't ready to, change their language or change their mindset or their intentionality of the words that they speak. I
Yep.
mean, people I've known for years that will they say they want to change, but they don't. Oh, I'm going to do this tomorrow. Well, why wait till tomorrow? Why not do it now? Oh, well, I'm gonna start Monday morning, 6
Yep.
a.m. I'm gonna start. I start
Yep.
now. Why wait?
Freddie T always told me since I was little, when you're sick and tired of being sick and tired, that's when you make a change. So
That is
people will talk a great game, but you know what? I guess you're not ready yet, or I guess it didn't mean that much to you yet, or else it would have been done. And it's that simple. I don't care how you slice it. I don't care how you try to argue with me on that. You're obviously not ready to make that commitment or that choice. So it is what it is.
yeah. I'll take that a little step further. I know guys that drop to their knees that said, "God, take this away from me. Take this," and their testimonies are so powerful. I'm like, well, it didn't happen to me. Like I'm waiting for that aha moment, but just like, Lord, take control of my life, or this or that, and then the whole thing changes. Everything changes because they're sick and tired of being, and they reach that point where the words that come out of their mouth are so desperate, or you really get to the meaning of something when, like, oh, like I don't have an addiction to drugs. Okay, for
Mm-hmm.
example, but yet I can smoke pot, or I can do coke recreationally, and then
Mm-hmm.
or I can gamble recreationally, or something where it starts off small, then avalanche. Oh, I control. Finally, reach that point where you're like, I need
Yeah.
help. And I
Mm-hmm.
think people don't ask for help as much as they used to anymore because there's people are like almost ashamed or embarrassed, or their egos are too much where they're like, I'll figure it out myself. I can do this myself.
Mm-hmm.
Is
Yeah.
that pretty fair to say, Greg?
100%. I see it just in the real estate world. All these agents, they're all quick to say I'm an independent contractor and blah blah blah, but you rush to the corporate side for help whenever you need help. So it when it suits you, you want to say you're a certain way. But also if, I had a lot of agents that weren't making money. Now, I can only do so much. And I'm going to quit the business. I got to go back to a regular 9 to 5. And I'd be like, why? I'm not making any money. This business isn't for me. I'm like, okay, why? And they're like, what do you mean why? Because I don't have any customers. I don't have any business. Well, what have you done to get them? Well, look at so and so. They're brand new to the business and they have like 10 clients already. Okay, I'm going to use them now as an example. Okay, let's go through what marketing do they do? They do print, they farm, they do mailers, they have social media. Let's go now what you have. You don't have any of that. You haven't done anything. So if you want to compare yourself to somebody, have at it. But compare apples to apples. That's apples to oranges. And then gets them every time. They're like, well, I don't have time for this. Like, so you're complaining you don't have any business. You're not doing anything about it, but you don't have time to get the business. So maybe you should go get a 9 to 5. That's exactly what I would say. And then if you want to make it in real estate, clearly we have plenty of examples of success here. I can give you a blueprint of how to be successful, but I can't do it for you. Or if you want me to do it for you, sure, I'll take 70% and you can have 30. That's my referral fee. And then they're like, why would I do that? I'm like, because I'm doing all the work. I'll do it. I have no problem doing it. I will show you how it's done, but it's going to cost you a lot of money. So it's if you're willing to do the work, you got to do it. Everyone's quick to complain. They're all quick to point the finger, like you said the other day. It's pass the buck. That hot potato game, like, oh, my predecessor, and it's the company's fault. And it's the company's fault. The company has millionaires. How is it the company's fault? If it's the company's fault, number one, the company would fold, and the company wouldn't have multiple top agents in markets in every state that they're in. It's 100% not the company. It's you. You just don't want to take accountability for it. We're all here to help. So tell me why. They never have the answer. And then some do flunk out of the business. That's fine. And then others have that aha moment there. And I've had this many times and I love it because they're like, all right, Greg, what do I do? I'm like, you need to fucking commit. Give me 3 months and fucking, this is your job. You come in every day. I'm going to hold you accountable every week. We meet every week. And I'm going to put you on the board of everything you're supposed to do. And I'm going to sit here and check what you did and what you didn't do. And you bet your ass they're rocking and rolling now. And I love seeing that. Because once they commit and they see, oh, you actually have to work. It's not like TV. So There you go.
And to wrap it up, words need to have meaning. Words need to have action. There needs to be an actionable meaning behind the
Yeah.
words. If you're going to say you're going to do it, like you always say, do what you say what you do, say what you mean what you
Yep.
say. The words that we put out there have to be defined.
Yeah.
There needs to be a definitive action or a definitive statement or a definitive purpose behind the
Yeah.
words that we say. If I say I love you, it's just not a blanket statement. It could be, but for someone to really buy in, you have to
Yeah.
show that person that you love them.
You can say
Whether
it till the
it's
cows come home, but if you're not showing them, it doesn't mean shit. It's just like you said, it's just words.
or if you genuinely like someone, like I
Mhm.
can tell a girl, like, I like you. I'd like to see where this goes, but I'm also not gonna dip I'm not gonna put both feet in the water until I know that the pool is pretty much safe to swim in. Because
Absolutely.
as we get older, well, not too much older, as we mature, as we become more refined,
I like that.
we're not going to be so quick to jump into things. We're going to be a little cautious because we've been tried and tested, and we also
Yep.
know, like, when we rush things or when eggs go in a basket,
Yep.
things tend to go awry. But I don't think it's a problem with stating your intentions because, like I tell people, like, I don't have the time to
Hmm.
play a game. I don't have the time to, put energy into something that may or may not work out. Now, I'll see things through to the
Hmm.
point where they'll either fall apart or, unfortunately, sometimes when you give someone enough rope, they'll hang themselves
Absolutely.
and you'll see it through. And I'm so quick to move on. I don't harp on things. If things end,
Hmm.
okay, on to the next, whether
Yep.
it's business, personal, whatever.
Yep.
So I think, when you tell a guy or girl that you're into them, you like them, you like to see where this goes, you're stating your intention. Like, look, I like you. I would like to have this with you, but only time will tell.
That's it. Time tells all. Time tells everything.
But being honest with your words, making your words have meaning, intentionality, and of course, there is the 10-second Chedora timeout rule.
And listen, if you're lied to or if someone doesn't show it back to you, don't change
Yeah,
yourself going forward. Keep doing what you're doing. It will be appreciated by the right person.
yeah,
You can't force a girl, we're talking about girls here. You can't force a girl to, mean what she says and not give you a bunch of fluff and actually have her actions meet her words. You can't force somebody to do that.
no,
But time will tell. And if you're a stand-up dude and if you mean what you say and you have your actions and you're a good guy, meaning you back everything you say up and you're truthful and honest and it's not reciprocated, that's fine. Bye. But do the same thing again. And it might happen again. It might be another shit person. Doesn't matter. Those shitty people don't change who you are and
no.
shouldn't change who you are and your intentions and your actions.
And also realize too, like, everybody's going through something.
Yep.
So, like, if it doesn't work
Never
out,
know.
but back in the day, would be like, oh, F her, she's this or F that. Like, I'm
Of
moving on.
course.
No, I can move on, but I can also move on with empathy, saying, man, like, you know
Yeah.
what? Greg's going through a lot of stuff right now, and like, it's not the right time, but man, I wish him well. Maybe down the road we can connect, or I can wish this one or that one well. Like, hey, you know what? Like,
Hmm.
you got a lot going on. Like, I'm going to keep that door open because I really like this person, but I'm also not going to close the door on other things. And I don't think there's anything wrong with
Hmm.
that. I don't think there's anything wrong with that at all.
I
I
have,
really
I
don't.
have, I have, I agree. I have zero problems with that. I have no problem reconnecting with old friends, and it is what it is. I obviously you share time with them, and for a reason. And like you said, they probably went through some stuff. You went through some stuff, whatever, and it's all good. Like our friend Lawrence. Like I'm glad, it's all good. Spent a lot of time with him,
Yeah, man.
and we didn't talk for a while for certain reasons. And you know what? I'm older now. I don't care about those reasons anymore. I'm sure he doesn't either. He's a good dude, and we have good laughs, and that's all that matters. So
And that is Greggy T. This was an awesome episode. really kind of like focusing on certain things and perspectives when it comes to the words that come out of our mouth, and making sure that we're cognizant of certain things so that those
Mhm.
words that are bad don't have any life, and the words that are good, they're positive, we breathe life into those words. So,
Mhm.
Greggy T, give us a little update on Forever Progress, how that's going, and where can people that want the coaching from the best there is, the best there was, and the best there ever will be in the world of real estate locate you, sir?
I will say this. I have to. Well, first of all, just go to Forever Progress on foreverprogress.com or Instagram. Just DM me. That's where everyone's doing it. But there is in this space, in this coaching real estate space, it is out of control right now. Every Tom, Dick, and Harry is a fucking coach. And oh, I've sold 100 homes in a year, and he's on a stage, and this woman is on a stage, and meanwhile, you go to her Instagram, she's doing her hair and makeup with her kids in the car, which, you might connect to a couple people like that. The people that I know and the business people, and especially here in the Northeast, you're not getting listened to at all. You're getting laughed out of the room, but they're doing their thing. So I'm happy for them. But are you really going to take advice from people that just have never done it, or that look a certain way, but they can't back it up? Like, I just don't understand it. Everybody's a coach now, and I'm not knocking like bumblefuck Alabama. There has to be real estate everywhere, but what are you doing? Telling people how they should do things when you're just not credible. You
Right.
might talk well, you might be entertaining on stage. This day and age, entertainment means actually more than value now, which is weird. And I think people should show their value more and their experiences, good and bad. But that's not how the way the world works. So I don't focus too much on that. It's just it's crazy. And I bring this up because it's a very popular topic with my clients, because I'm always like, how did you pick me, or why are you talking to me right now? And they're like, well, I spoke to so and so, or I look at them and I just don't get that vibe. It's a hard sales pitch. It's always a pitch. There's no pitch with me. It is what it is. And you either like it or you don't. We either vibe or we don't. It's cool. But there's all these gimmicks and these people that have never sold a piece of property, but they're telling you how to scale your business in selling properties. It blows. I don't know how that works. I don't know how that works, but it's all good. We're a little different. I'm just factual, and I tell you from past experiences, both good and bad, how to scale your business. If you're new to the industry, what pitfalls to avoid, so you just can accelerate as quickly as possible. What took me 3 years might take you 1 year. So that's paying it forward, which is great. I wish I had somebody like that. So it's all good, sir.
You heard it there from the man, the myth, the legend, foreverprogress.com. Go check that
Mm-hmm.
out.
Mm-hmm.
Gotta say this, Greggy T, Lake and Riley. Gonna say her name. We hope that this will be the end of this stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Doesn't matter where you come from, what you do. That type of violence hopefully can be curtailed. I know they just passed a law in Congress, about Lake and Riley, and the whole thing is horrific. And let's be safe out there. Let's love each other. Let's be just more compassionate, more tolerant of people, and again, just stay safe out there. And this is why we love our policemen and women that protect us, especially down here in Florida. I mean, the governor DeSantis does a great job of encouraging our men and women to do their job to the best of their ability. And it's it's a sad situation all the way around. And let's just hope that, unfortunately, this situation can prevent others down the road.
Yeah, I mean, the governor here in New York is a joke. She wasn't even elected in, and she now has the National Guard in the subways that you and I used to take every day. People are getting their throats slashed like medieval times.
I heard that about the
Oh yeah,
subways.
oh yeah. People just getting fucking murked every 2 seconds. Listen, when you and I went, it was safe. Like, girls were always on the subway. Like, it
I
was
used to
great.
fall asleep on the subway.
Of course, it's you couldn't pay me enough to go in there now, and I'm pretty versed enough to take care of myself, I'm not going in there. I'm not putting
Right.
myself in any potential situation.
Right.
Be prepared and protect your family. Be able to protect your family, which is the most important thing. Most of these
Mhm.
guys can't protect their family, but maybe try to, or at least have some sort of plan. If something goes down, what do you do? It's that simple. If you're at a park, what do? You should run through these scenarios. I'm not saying like doomsday prepper, but if something goes down, where's the nearest exit? Where's the nearest barrier to create space between you and whatever threat there is? And get your family off the X. Get your family out of there.
Yeah.
That's the most important thing. Like, I'm not engaging. If I'm with my family, I'm not engaging. I'm getting them out. If I'm there by myself, I'll figure it out. But when my family's there, create distance, get them out of there. And all I care about is my family at that point. That's it. But you have to run through these scenarios no matter where you're at. I don't care where in America you are. If you're in a rich neighborhood, a poor neighborhood, a park, or wherever, a ball game, I don't care. You got to know what's going on. You got to know where you're going to go. If something popped off right now, what are you doing? What are you doing? I'm at Madison Square Garden at a concert. What am I doing if something happens right now? Am I going left, right? Am I going out that door? Am I getting down? What am I doing? All these things are always in my head. People think I'm crazy, but at least if something happens,
As it should be. You
at
need
least
to
I have
be
some sort of
prepared.
chance. If I'm with my girls, what am I doing? Where am I going? How am I protecting them? How am I shielding them from something? So it's all that stuff. Just be aware and be able to protect yourself and your family first and foremost. We always say take care of your house, get your house in order. That's part of it. So anyway,
Amen to that, my man. Amen to that.
be safe in the subways, people.
Yeah, I was just in the DC subway and I was fine. I was surprised. I took it to the airport, but I also took it at 3 o'clock in the afternoon.
Hey, you never know these days.
You never know these days.
Nope.
But for the most part, I didn't see a lot of police presence. But for the most part, it looked pretty. I was going out to McLean, Virginia, and the airport, and DCA, which is right outside of the there in Arlington. So
Yep.
it wasn't that bad. But it's pretty sad when the National Guard's got to come in to control the subway system. So
It's horrible.
it's horrible. It's horrible. And
It went from one extreme to the other. When you and I lived there, it was safe for the most part, pretty clean, and just a great time. Economy was booming. It was all good. And it is literally the opposite now.
Well, I think of all the drunk nights I used to take the subway home. You know what I mean? I mean, that was pretty bad, but the safety, that I felt safe doing it. And, that's how you get around a lot of these major cities. So,
Yeah.
I really hope that people can come together
Yeah.
and realize, what's going on. And
It's funny.
hope,
When I was down there with Gary
Yeah.
for the concert a couple weeks ago, I parked in my old neighborhood on Central Park West and 89th. And I walked down Central Park West past, my old buildings and some of the others. And I know a lot of the doormen there of some of these super luxury buildings. I saw one of them and he came out. He's like, "Oh my God, what's up, Greg?" I'm like, "Yo, how you been?" He's like, "What are you doing?" I'm like, "I live in the boonies now. It's all good. I'm in the suburbs." I'm like, "How is it here?" He's like, "Watch your back." Those are his exact words. He's like, "Watch your back." And this is Central Park West in the 80s and 70s. Some of the most expensive real estate in Manhattan. The guy's like, "Watch your back." I'm like, this is crazy. What a shame.
Yeah.
Shame.
Yeah, and New York is still the greatest city in the world.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, it's on life support, and I
Yeah.
hope they don't pull the plug on it. And I just hate to see that city go bankrupt because I think with all the businesses, and I'll tell you what, man, they're coming down here.
I know. Florida's in the sink. All the weight.
Well, that's another topic for another day.
Peptides.
Peptides.
Yeah, that's the answer.
Peptides are the answer. Peptides and love, man.
That's
But anyway, I'm going to go for coffee number 4.
Good for you, sir.
St. John's with a big win yesterday. So, Greggy T, enjoy the rest of your Sunday. And
You as
to all
well.
those out there that are listening, our new listeners, we really hope you enjoy this episode because it is dropping live tonight at 6 p.m.
That's it. We will see everybody next week. Appreciate it and stay safe out there. Thank you.